2008, about 30 grams. They did a tricky thing. They made the bag still look like a 50-gram bag, but they only put 45 grams of chips in them and sold them to you at the same price. You know, how can we make a profit on? How can we increase our profits? Let's just put air in the bag. You ever get that? You get the bag, it's full of. Wow, this is a nice big bag of chips. You open it up and it's 1/3 full. You know, your appetite goes. Oh, I was looking forward to this. Anyway, but this just shows you some of the trend of society today. We're eating more and more of the wrong kinds of foods, and it's having an adverse effect on us, so much so that we are now the most obese nation in the world. And also with regards to inactivity, there's been a 70% increase in the number of cars driven to work each day in Australian capital cities. A 70% increase from the 1970s to the 2000s. So less active as well. So, these figures are alarming. There are more than 9 million adults now rated as obese or overweight in Australia. And Australians, as I mentioned already, outweigh Americans, and which could face, and in doing so, we face a future fat bomb that could be responsible for 123,000 premature deaths. Premature deaths simply because we're eating more and doing less, and eating the wrong kinds of things. And we're going to increase our mortality rate prematurely. 123,000 people will die because of this. So this is something that I think we should take on board ourselves. What can I do to decrease my fat levels? Now, you may not look at me and say, "Oh, Paul, you're not fat." No, but maybe that's relative. Probably that's because we're all getting fatter, and we're thinking, "Oh, I wish I could be like him." But I mean, back in the 1970s, I may have been overweight, and maybe I'm the norm. I don't know. But I know with my BMI, I'm slightly over on my BMI. You understand what BMI is, the body mass index? Everyone have an appreciation of that? Just look it up on Google if you don't know what that is. But it's a factor where you take your height in centimetres. I think the formula is something to do with your weight, and it's divided by 2 or something. And there's an equation for it. But it works out your body mass index, a function of your height versus your weight. Now, the higher the BMI, the more overweight you are. And there's a certain range of the BMI that you could be in. I think mine's about 24, 23, something like that, and I think I'm slightly over that. So, and you can be under it as well. You increase your risk to dying if you're under the BMI. That's ideal for your weight as well. Ideal for your height, I should say. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a rough figure. But by the way, though, bodybuilders, they have a huge body mass, right? But they're low in fat, tend to be low in fat, so it's not always an accurate gauge. But for the general population, it's a fairly accurate gauge. So that body mass index will give you an idea of just how overweight or underweight you might be, or dare say obese you might be. And if you are, what can we do about that? Well, there's a few things I've been looking into. I've got about 8 weeks or less than 8 weeks to go. How can I lose some weight if I wanted to lose some weight? Okay, I've kept the old jeans in the wardrobe I used to wear back in the 1990s. Why? Because I feel like one day I'm going to get back into those jeans. Who does that? Do you hang on to the old jeans because you think you're going to get back into them one day? Yeah. All right. Don't throw those out. I'm going to wear those again. My wife wants to throw them out. I go, don't wear them. They've been there for 10 years. When are you going to wear those again? They're good jeans still, but they just don't fit me. So I'd like to get back into those jeans one day. So how can I do that quickly? Well, I guess the most positive things or the most beneficial things to us don't generally come quickly. But the things that we can do to be more efficient, I suppose, in losing our weight. How can we lose weight? There's certain things that we can do. One thing that I've come across... How am I going over time? Okay, one thing I've come across, I'll talk about this very quickly, and that is exercise. You've heard about exercise, right? Ever heard about exercise? Let me tell you about exercise. All right. No, there's exercise and there's exercise. And there's one thing I found out recently, and I thought, this is really great. How can I'm a busy person. I happen to be a sedentary lifestyle, so I'm a brain worker, okay? I burn a lot of energy up here, but very, very little energy am I burning in human movement. And so how can I be more efficient with that burning of energy? Well, there's something they call, I came across this, it's called the 7-minute workout. Have you come across that? Anyone ever come across that? 7-minute workout. You've got an iPhone or Android phone, yeah? Okay, go on the Play Store or App Store, look up 7-minute workout, download the app. There's lots of different versions of the app out there, but it's based on research done in the United States in one of the universities, where they did a study on individuals who performed 7 minutes of high-intensity interval training each day. Only 7 minutes. And they burnt as much fat as someone who did 30 minutes of moderate, low-intensity, steady workout. For example, walking. You got 30 minutes, you want to walk or jog, you do 7 minutes. I'd rather do 7 minutes and spend the next 20 minutes getting back to what I want to do. So I thought, well, that sounded great. And so that was something that I applied, or began to apply. Now, the other factor is that it's called discipline, right? Okay. I don't have a solution for discipline, but you've got to have discipline no matter what you're doing. You've got to have discipline. So as long as you've got discipline, it'll work, all right? But look up the 7-minute workout. What it is it's basically 30 seconds of an intense exercise, resistance training. And by resistance, we mean something that you're going to use your muscles to do. Either push or pull. Okay, push or pull or hold in a certain position under tension. That's called resistance training. And what that does, it builds up muscle. And muscle is very important because muscle contains something called mitochondria. You heard of mitochondria? These are the little fat-burning machines, I call them. Fat-burning machines, and they're produced in the muscles. They're in the muscle tissue. That's what the body uses to break down the glucose into energy. Okay, it feeds the mitochondria. The mitochondria are like your petrol engines, I suppose. Your petrol stations. They produce the petrol to boost the body, and the body uses oxygen to burn what the mitochondria produce. So the more muscle you have, the more mitochondria you'll have in there, the more mitochondrial cells you'll have, and therefore the more energy you're going to be burning with your muscles. Are you following me? So the more muscle you have, the more energy you'll burn. And the type of energy you'll tend to burn will be fat. This will be the breakdown of fat. Okay, so that's what the body uses to break down the fat. On a moderate exercise, if you're just walking along, the type of calories you're burning are the immediate calories. You take a drink or food, you'll burn that straight away just going along and doing walk. But the high intensity interval training will start to break down actual stored fat. You keep it up, it'll break down stored fat. Which leads me now into the second part. By the way, I'll run you through a 7-minute exercise really quick, yeah? I won't take 7 minutes to do it, I'll just speak you through it, all right? If I took 7 minutes, you'd probably laugh at me doing it, all right? But it starts with, let me think, I just know this, it starts with what have I got here? The different ones would be a high knees, where high knees are, okay? Hands out here, up, right, so high knees, 7 up for 30 seconds non-stop, 10-second break. So, 10-second break. Then you do another 30 seconds of the next exercise might be star jumps, or jumping jacks, I should call it, star jump. You do those for 30 seconds, 10-second break. Next, you do a wall sit for 30 seconds, and that is a killer when you first start out. It's a killer on the knees. I can tell you that right now. The wall sit is when you get against the wall, just like this, and sit there, and you've got to hold that for 30 seconds. Okay? No, I'm not going to hold it for 30 seconds. Right? But download the app. It'll take you through them all. Then you've got your push-ups, 30 seconds push-ups, and then they'll do the plank. Okay? And then you do the side plank. Okay? And then, anyway, there's about 12 exercises you end up doing. Over there. Say again? Okay, good question. Good question. The older ones, you can do it moderately. Or the key here with the older ones would be not so intense in that sense, but resistance training. This is where you might get, you know those little handheld weights? The small ones I'm talking about? Using those in just resistance training. Or pushing against the wall with your arms. This is also good for not only building up the muscle, but building up the bone density as well. The more exercise you're doing, the more it encourages the bone density, the production of the bone cells. So, but we can look into further. I can look further into that for you. I mean, I haven't really gone to that side of it because I'm not quite there yet myself. All right. So, as I said to you, I'm just giving you my experience. But it's resistance training is the key thing. So what you can, because I know some people aren't, aren't as physically able as others. But as long as it's some sort of resistance training, that is something where you're putting some weight on your legs or your muscles or your arms or your legs or your body in some way. Okay? But look that up, the 7-minute workout or resistance training for the older folk. Resistance training. So the other thing I want to mention is, and this is for the men folk here. If you're over 45, over 50, do you have trouble losing the belly? Losing what's here? Yeah? Okay. Particularly for the men folk, what happens is testosterone. Both men and women have testosterone. The body produces it. It's more concentrated in men, and as you're from about your 20s onwards, that production of testosterone is decreasing. By the time you hit 50, particularly for the men, the hair starts falling out and the weight starts coming on. Testosterone actually burns fat. The more testosterone you can have in your system, it helps to keep the fat off, and it helps to burn the fat that is there. And you can eat certain foods, and you can do certain things to maintain your testosterone level or boost it naturally. And would you like to hear a little bit about that? Yeah? I can share a little bit on that here, and that is some of the things that you can do. And this is how it works actually. A high level of testosterone makes it easier for your body to burn fat tissue. The higher levels of testosterone you have, the easier it is to burn the fat. What happens is, the higher the testosterone is, you're burning fat instead of muscle. Like if you go on a starvation diet, you'll lose fat, but what tends to happen, if you're not exercising in particular, your body will start breaking down its muscle tissue as well. So what you want to do is you want to have a regime where you're exercising, where you're building your muscle, but you're consuming less calorie intake and trying to boost that testosterone at the same time. And that's why you're going to increase your muscle mass, you'll burn the fat, and you'll end up much trimmer than what you are now. And you can do some research on that yourself, but there's guys out there proving that this does work. For guys over 50 in particular, you know. So testosterone also, it boosts your metabolic rate. And you know what metabolism is? Okay, the metabolism of the body's just a regular process of converting energy into, or food into energy, which the body needs to function. You'll tend, on that high intensity workout, you'll tend to burn the fat longer. Like I think the effective is about 4 or 5 hours during the day. Whereas a steady exercise, you'll only burn the fat while you're doing that 30 minutes of walking. But if you do the high intensity things or the resistance training, because you're using muscle tissue, that's where the energy is being converted from the glucose into what the body needs to function, to build up the cells, etc., for them to function. The longer you can keep your metabolism burning, the more fat you'll burn. You know? So the high intensity interval training is just that. It's increasing your metabolism for longer periods throughout the day. So that's why it will boost the metabolism. Now, testosterone will boost that rate of the metabolism. And that increases the energy burned and creates a bigger calorie deficit. Also, having high levels of testosterone in the blood directly inhibits the creation of new fat cells. Now, for example, the average body fluctuates in the blood, the testosterone in the blood fluctuates between 250 nanograms per deciliter, that's 1/10 of a litre, to 1,200 nanograms per deciliter. Okay, there's a fluctuation throughout the day. Now, they did a study where they took on average someone with 600 nanograms per deciliter, and they reduced that consistently down to 300. So they halved the amount of testosterone in the body. They did that through a drug. And guess what happened? When they halved the amount of testosterone, it caused an increase of 36% in the fat mass of healthy human subjects. So your fat increased by 36% through the testosterone being decreased by half. So you can think about that. You can boost that testosterone, you'll boost the burning of that fat. Okay, that's the idea here. Things you can do for testosterone: firstly, get enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours a day. Person who doesn't sleep enough, a lack of sleep affects the variety of hormones in your body, and particularly testosterone as well. So poor sleep is the most important factor in men with low testosterone. So if you're not sleeping well, let's try and work out how we can get that good night's rest. Also, as I mentioned already, keeping a healthy weight. A person who's overweight or obese tends to have low testosterone levels. So it's about consuming foods that will boost testosterone. Now, foods that boost it are foods that are full of vitamin D and zinc. Okay, vitamin D and zinc. And you just look up foods like that, and also saturated fats. Also, your body does need saturated fats, and by being a vegetarian, I'm going to recommend some saturated fats, which also will boost testosterone. Okay, would you like to hear about those ones? Right, these are good fats, because you do need saturated fats as well as unsaturated. But the saturated fats, I'll give you a few of them here. Firstly, olives and olive oil, coconuts and coconut oil, palm oil, and unheated organic nut oils. Another one, a favourite of everybody's, avocados. Okay, these are all saturated fats, and they will also boost testosterone levels. Okay, so that's just a few things there. Also, what else have I got here? Obviously, reduce the sugar from your diet. Okay, low carbohydrate diet. By carbohydrates, like particularly with processed foods, reducing the sugars, particularly sugars from fructose. Fructose in just about everything we buy from the shop nowadays. Fructose, that's fruit sugars. Fruit is good to eat, but you're eating high, like orange juice, for example. You're drinking heaps of orange juice or juices throughout the week. They're full of sugars, and that's just going to convert into fat. You know, you're putting yourself at risk of diabetes at the same time. So you want to decrease the sugars. And I found, when you're just cutting out fruit juice, it was amazing the effect that had on losing weight, just cutting out fruit juice in the diet. Also bread, cutting out bread. Anyone here like their bread? Yeah, okay. Bread is good, all right, bread's good, but depends on what kind of bread you have. There's bread that has a high glycemic index and a low glycemic index. Do you know what I mean by that? Okay, the body can produce glucose from the bread that's white very quickly. But the bread that's whole grain bread, it's a lot longer it takes to produce the glucose from that bread. So if you're going to eat bread and you have issues with diabetes or want to decrease your risk of diabetes, get the whole grain breads. And even better, sprouted grains. Bread that's made from sprouted grains. Have you seen that? You can see it. Look for it in some of the health food shops, even some of the supermarkets. I've seen it in the healthy bread sections, but they're made from sprouted wheat grains or other grains before they bake it. So they sprout the grain. And that has some high levels of nutrients in it, which also will break down slower in the system. So the whole grains are best for that kind of thing. But in general, I mean, we eat too many processed grains. Okay, we eat too many grains. We don't need to eat enough vegetables. The body loves the vegetables. It loves the fruit in moderation, but the vegetables in particular. It's high in nutrients, and it has a lot of insoluble fibre, which is good for the colon and things like this, and it will break down slowly over time. And guess what? It's very low in fat. So the key thing here is less calorie intake and more calorie demand on your body. Putting more demand of calories on your body, but in consuming less calories or kilojoules. That's in general the rule. But take care of what kind of foods they eat and what kind of calories you're eating. Sure, you can eat carbohydrates. I can eat the average daily allowance, for example, for an adult male is about 8,000 kilojoules. A Subway, say a 6-inch Subway, is around 1,300 kilojoules. Okay, so you can say, well, I can eat 4 Subways today. All right, whatever. But just give you an idea. But see, the less calories you're going to take in, the more the demand you put on the body to consume that fat. But remember, what else you can do to consume it quicker or more quickly is things like exercise, but the right kind of exercise if you want to really a balance actually between the low intensity stuff, okay, and also the high intensity stuff, because you need that muscle tissue on here. It's no good doing low intensity workout where you're not building muscle, and you can starve yourself to lose your weight, but you're losing your muscle tone as well. But if you want to keep healthy and fit, a bit of combination of both the high intensity training or resistance exercise. If we're not able to do the high intensity side of it, but at least the resistance side of it to build up the muscle and bone mass, and also the cardio for the low intensity steady state exercise. Okay, just the walking and the jogging and the bicycling and things like that. The aerobic exercise, as we would call it. Okay. So anyway, that's just a few things and a few thoughts and ideas about fat and losing, how to lose it, and things like that. So anyway, I'll share that with you, and my time is up. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Now, there is another way of losing weight, Paul, that you didn't mention. I think it's something to do with lettuce.
Oh, yeah.
How many people like lettuce?
Leafy green.
Well, when I was told that I'm going to make lettuce soup tonight, I was kind of in two minds. So lettuce soup? I normally put my lemons on it and put some tomatoes in it and eat it. But tonight, I think Lydia is going to demonstrate a lettuce soup. Can we have the mic? Paul? Thank you. We are privileged tonight to have the youngest member that we ever had in the back. Welcome. Lovely to see you. A baby. How beautiful. Lydia and Rosetta will be our presenters tonight. And Tanya too. So we welcome them, and I will get into it right away. Thank you, ladies. It's all yours.
Good evening, everybody. Am I on? Good, thank you. How are you? Did you all have a nice Mother's Day? Lovely. For those that don't know me, I see there's a few nice young-looking faces here. My name's Lydia and Rosetta. We're part of the Elim Health team, and we'll demonstrate some food for you this evening, and you'll get to try it. When you looked at your recipes tonight, what did you think when you saw the front page? Did you think, yuck? Well, when I was, my grandmother used to make lettuce soup. And I remember growing up and thinking, how terrible. I don't like lettuce. I don't like lettuce soup. But as I'm getting older, I I am enjoying lettuce soup. So I'm going to demonstrate to you, and you will be able to taste how nice it can be. So if you just bear with me, we're going to start off by sautéing some onion and some garlic in a pan with a little bit of olive oil. Thank you. I've just put 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 large onion, but you don't have to have it very small because this soup's going to be whizzed up. So it'll, just so that the flavours will come through, we just chop it up a little so that it just allows the sautéing. And I'm going to, for this particular soup, we washed 2.5 cos lettuces, but they were baby cos. They weren't the full size. Sometimes you can get the really big ones, but these were the little ones. They were 2 in a packet from Aldi. But you can put any amount of lettuce you want because you just adjust the flavour, the salt content as you go. So if you've got 3 lettuces you want to use, or if you want to use some iceberg and some cos, or if you want to use any other kind of lettuce, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter whether you put 1 potato, 2 potatoes, and you put 4 lettuces. You just adjust its flavour with as you use it. I'm just testing this. I put that on earlier, but it's still it's still warming up. I'm sorry. But yes, so you can use any kind of lettuce. You don't have to stick with this. If you do like spinach, you can put some baby spinach in as well. It'll give it a slightly more earthy flavour. But for today, we're just going to do lettuce. So with this, I'm going to saute a little bit of coriander seeds, and they will pop a little bit, and you can get the aroma once you put it in the oil. So we'll add that to it once this gets cooking. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to start the soup, and as it boils, we'll do the next step so that we can get it done in time for you. I'm just thinking about that water. Is that hot? So it's just so simple that you don't have to stand next to it or anything. You can go about doing something else while that's cooking. And I will add the potatoes and the 3 cups of water, but like I said, if you put a little bit extra lettuce or extra water, it doesn't matter, okay? And I'm also using tonight something that those that have been here before, I use the Marcel stock powder. Now, Marcel stock powder, even though it says chicken style or beef style or vegetable style, they're 100% vegetarian. So it looks like this. The one that I'm using, actually the one I'm using is a chicken style, but this one here is a vegetable style. But they're 100% vegetarian. So even though you'll see the word chicken or beef on it, it does say that it's 100% vegetarian. It's just a flavouring. And why it says what it says, I don't know. I've never had chicken, but I'm guessing that the flavour is what they use in a chicken dish, I'm guessing, when they make the stock. And therefore it's called chicken stock. But it's chicken style stock. And that just gives it a flavour. But if you don't want to use that, you're quite welcome to use salt. Just plain salt. You don't have to use any stock if you don't want to. And what I do, and I've said this a number of times, when I'm cooking or steaming vegetables, don't throw the water out. Okay? Put the water in a container, in a plastic container, sealed container, and put it in the freezer. And that way, when you're ready to make your soup or your stews or things like that, you can just go and get a container from the freezer. You can buy those plastic containers reasonably cheap, and they stack nicely. So whenever you do anything with water that you can have, just put it in the freezer, because that's your proteins that you'll be throwing down the sink. If you make mashed potatoes and you boil the potato with the skin, that's the best water you can have because that's got a lot of potassium in it and it's really healthy for you. You don't want to throw that out. So that's coming on well, so I'm going to add some garlic. Again, if you don't want to chop it up, you can just slice it because it will be blended. So that's up to you. If you want 2 cloves or 3 cloves for this particular one, I've got 3 cloves, 3 medium-sized cloves. But if you like it a bit more, you put an extra, or if you like it less, just leave some out. So it's up to your taste. Don't be worried about experimenting, okay? It's nice to experiment. And when you smell that aroma, then I'll throw the coriander seeds in here, and that will just bring that out. We're going to give you some samples so that you can see that it's not as bad as what you think. You'll probably really enjoy it. Now, if the cameras can see that, the actual onion is getting a little bit translucent. Oops. That means see-through, and it's just coming really nicely. I'm just going to have to empty this water into a container. I'll just put it in here. We just put water in the potatoes so that it doesn't go black, because I wasn't going to peel it and chop it here. It takes too long for you. I'll add the potatoes, and then add the salt or the stock powder at this stage. And just let it saute together a little. Can you smell that aroma? Isn't it lovely? Hands up if this is your first time here. Beautiful. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy it. It's very lovely. We hold these sort of demonstrations twice a year, usually around about April, May, and then about September, October. And we also we just did a raw hands-on program, which some of you did, and you enjoyed that. But yeah, so now I'm just going to put all this lettuce in here. And this will go right down, so don't worry if it's that'll go right down, and I'll add 3 cups of water. I'm using boiling water because it just speeds up the cooking process. Thank you, Rosetta. Okay, and I'll leave the lid on it and cook it until the potatoes are nice and soft, and then you blend it. Now, if you have a Vitamix, it's not a problem to blend it when it's hot. If you don't have a Vitamix, put your lid on, but leave a little spout opened, because it will expand and it could explode. The lid can come off. So when you're blending it, later on when I'll blend it, you'll see. See, it's gone down a lot. So that will just simmer here until the potatoes are ready. I'll keep on checking that. And while that's cooking, I'm going to do some croutons. Now, this is the easiest and the quickest and the simplest you can do, and it tastes so good. Thank you. Any bread, if you have any bread at home left over, don't throw it out because it's 2 days old or whatever. Use it up. Do croutons, and they will last you a long time. They will last you probably 2 or 3 weeks in a sealed container. Could I have the knife that's serrated? Please, I think it's somewhere in one of my trays. I think it's the eggplant one. No? That one? Yep. Okay. So just cut them up in little squares. So I'm using sourdough bread for this one, but you can use any kind of bread that you've got. Just cut them in little squares. If you like it bigger, make it bigger squares depending on your taste. So I'm one of these persons that I don't like to throw anything out. So if you've got leftover things, use it. You can use bread for all sorts of things. You can make bread and butter pudding. You can do croutons. You can do breadcrumbs or anything like that. Okay. Just put it in a dish. It goes a long way, so I'll just do this lot. I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of olive oil. Just so, like so. And you can put just plain salt, or I'm going to put the Marcel stock powder. Is this? Yep. Just sprinkle it lightly. And a little bit of herbs, mixed herbs. That really smells delicious when it's cooking. Really does. It's beautiful. And give it a toss. And in the oven, I usually put it 110 for about 20 minutes or so, and you'll see it'll harden up. It'll just dry out. And then what you can do is just turn the temperature up to about 200, just to make it a little bit golden if you like it, or if you just like it plain white, it's okay to leave it as such. Spread it on a tray, put some baking paper on it, and just in the oven. That's all. It's so easy and quick. If you have children, your children may like to do that. They may like to have some fun and make some croutons, and that way they will eat it because they've made it themselves. So we'll just pop that in the oven out the back. But yeah. But now Rosetta's going to go through with you. She's going to show you how to make sour cream. A vegan sour cream, and that is what we've put it with the soup. I'll just go out the back and wash my hands, but I'll give you this first. Yep.
Does anybody have a question you wanted to ask? Don't be shy, okay? There's a hand over there, Lydia. What is your question?
Where's the hand? No, it won't go bitter. You just let it cook until the potato is soft, is really, really cooked. The potato helps to make it creamy, so you want that really well cooked. You don't want that to be hard, so the lettuce won't go bitter. No. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Well, you could try that if you want to, but I just think it's just easy just to put it on and forget about it. That's the only reason. You could, because the lettuce is very quick to cook it. But it will also get very soft and easier to blend as well if it's well cooked. Yeah.
Be careful not to burn yourselves, just in case. That's good. Can you tell it's lettuce?
Yes. You can substitute the potato for sweet potato, for taro, for yam, for anything like that. Yes. Yeah. Actually, it would be really nice with taro. Yes. But you can, definitely, you can substitute it, yes. In the sour cream we do, not in the soup. Yep. And Rosetta will take you through that one now. Thanks, Rosetta.
Thank you.
Yep. Is it on?
I think so. Okay, this sour cream, for those of you who are here for the first time, we have done it previously. For those of you who are here for the first time, you might want to take note. Very quick and easy, really good, especially if you have a Vitamix that just makes life easy. All we need is 1 cup of soy milk. It thickens up really, and you can change the consistency of it too. If you want it a little bit runnier, you put less oil in it. So the first 3 ingredients that we've got: milk, cup of whole cashews, whole raw cashews. Don't put the roasted ones in, whole raw cashews. No, they haven't been soaked. They're just whole cashews. A pinch of salt. And then it's just a matter of blending those 3 ingredients. We're going to make a bit of noise now. Take the lid off. Okay, I'll just explain the next step because I'm going to do it while this is working, so it's going to make a lot of noise. So when this is blended up, when all the cashews are blended up and it's nice and creamy and smooth, then I start adding the oil, okay? And you add it little bit by little bit, just like if anyone's made mayonnaise, how you do, little bit by little bit, that's what you do here. And in the end, you add the lemon juice. Okay, so that's the last 2 ingredients. So I'm going to blend this up and then I'll add the oil, then the lemon juice. It blends up very quickly. Cashews are soft, so it's good. You hear how it changes the sound? It's not as sharp, the sound. Then it's ready to add the lemon juice. That's it. And you have sour cream. You can add as much, it's quite thick. It's not really runny. So depending on how runny you want it, how much oil you put in, okay? So if you want it really runny, less oil. If you want it really thick, more oil. How long will it last? It'll probably last about, a week in the fridge. Yeah, a week. It has to be refrigerated, obviously. 4 days, 5 days, a week, should be fine. Nice and sour. The sourness, so it really tastes like sour cream. It's very good. So I will use a spoon. The more lemon, obviously, the more sour it's going to be. So. You can use this sour cream in any dish that you would usually use sour cream with, like if you want with nachos, if you want with soup, whatever you usually use sour cream, you can use this sour cream. Oh, might use the spoon. Who's next? Me.
If you didn't receive the recipe sheets, make sure you ask the girls and they can give you some. In case you can't come next week and you can come the third week, just ask for the ones from before and we will be quite happy to give you all the recipes. So what's next, girls?
Okay, the meatballs.
The meatballs. I thought this was a vegetarian cooking demonstration. I'm starting to worry now. Thank you, Lydia.
It's even vegan meatballs. Not even vegetarian only, but vegan. Okay, does everyone know what this is? Eggplant. Who doesn't like eggplant? Oh, there you go. Well, we're going to see if you like it done this way. I'm going to cut it up first. I've washed it already out the back. So I'm just going to cut them really small. And I'm just going to slice circles because I'm going to use this super duper slicer called the alligator slicer. Okay, and I'm going to cut them up in that tiny little squares for our meatballs. Now, with the vegetarian or vegan meatballs, you can have any type of all different grains you can put in there. You can put oats. Today I've chosen to put quinoa. That's a very good grain. It's very good for you. And I'm going to add that to the eggplant. And if you just bear with me while I cut all this up. Okay. And I'm going to make some noise again. So if you haven't got one of these, I'm not a rep for this, but it does help and it is quite clever. You just cut it up in tiny little bits. Okay? So it's really quick. You can get it from kitchen shops. For the people around here, you can get it from Victoria's Secret in Castle Hill, or a lot of basement. I beg your pardon. Thank you. Yes, Victoria Basement. That's right. Victoria's Secret. Okay, Victoria's Basement down up at Castle Hill, and okay, so. Yeah, they're really handy for cutting potato squares. You can actually get a bigger square, like twice the size of what I'm doing now. See how tiny that is. So, and it's so fast that you can just, if you had to cut this by hand, it'll just take you so much longer. It's very good. It's lovely for mushrooms or anything that's softer kind of things. Carrots are not so good. So we're cooking this up. I'm sorry. Can I move that down a little? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. I'll just bring this back a little bit without tipping it on ourselves. How's that, Joe? Is that better? Okay. So any of the softer vegetables, it's good. It's like I said, it's not good for carrots because the blades are not sharp enough for the carrots. It's all right if the carrot's cooked. If you cook carrot and you want to make a Russian salad and your carrots are cooked, perfect. But to do it just a raw carrot is a little bit too hard. So mushrooms, zucchinis, eggplant, celery, onion, anything like that is really good. Beg your pardon? Potato, yes. Yeah, it's fine. As long as you slice it up into slices, yes, definitely. So that's our eggplant ready for our dish. And I'm going to first, again, saute the onion and the garlic. So I'm going to transfer the pot over to this side and get a new pot. Okay. I'll start off with some olive oil, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and what have I got here? Shallots. My shallots and garlic. There's no onion in this recipe. So I'll do the shallots. I'll wait till the oil is a little bit warm. Yep. Now, chickpeas. Chickpeas are wonderful. They're wonderful. It's a wonderful bean or vegetable. Full of protein, calcium. So if you can use chickpeas, as much as possible, you're not going to go wrong with it. Today I'm going to use a tin, but if you want to cook your own, soak it overnight, and then you cook it for approximately about 50 minutes to an hour, depending on how fresh they are. But you have to soak it first. It makes it a lot easier. If not, then you might have to cook it for about 2 hours. So I'm just going to take the water out. Now, this water of the chickpeas is liquid gold. If you don't eat eggs and you're allergic to eggs, use this instead of eggs. Because this acts, the brine or the water from the chickpeas that you cook, or the tin ones, you can use it as an egg replacer to bind things up. And this is a little bit liquid, so what I would do, I would put this on the stove and I'll reduce it probably to half. And that way, you'll see it when it starts looking like an egg white. It's a little bit thicker and gluggy like an egg white. When it cools down, you see that it looks like almost like an egg white. So I'm going to use some of this tonight to bind up our balls. But this is ready for my shallots. Again, I'm putting about 3 shallots, but you can put 5 if you like. You don't have to stick to any particular amount, and a couple of cloves of garlic, and just saute that a little. I've already got some boiled quinoa. Now I've put 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water and just simmered it, probably for about 20 minutes, and let it cool. I keep that in the fridge, and you can use it for all sorts of things, okay? So I've had that already made. And I'm going to use some walnuts. Now, walnuts are really good for a brain. When you look at the nuts and you see the shape of it, it reminds of a brain. So that's what it's good for. I mean, there's a whole lot of other things it's good for, but it is good for your brain. And as we get older, everything helps. When it comes to our alertness and our brain. So we're going to put, I'm going to do the walnuts in a little Ziploc bag so it doesn't go flying everywhere. You can do it in a food processor, but if it's only 3 tablespoons or just a little bit like this, it's too much trouble. So just seal it up, but open a little tiny bit so that the air can just, so otherwise it would puff up and you can't get to it. And you roll it. You roll it with your rolling pin, and that way you get a nice, and you don't have to dirty your food processor or whatever, although we're going to use our food processor tonight. But so you've got your nice ground up walnuts. Okay, so that's ready. Not 3 tablespoons, you can't, no. You have to buy, the walnuts are, yes, but they are $8.50, 500 grams, is it? $8.50 downstairs? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is ready for us to put our next lot of things. So I'm going to put my eggplant into this pot. You don't have to cook it too much. You just cook enough for it to soften because it will be still baked. So you just cook just enough so that it softens up. I'll show you. It will also reduce. It'll reduce a little when it's cooking. Whoever thought of putting eggplant in a meatball? No. There you go. Something different. Now, while that is just cooking a little, I'm going to process the chickpeas in my food processor. I'm sorry, I'm going to make some noise here just now. You can use, like I said, I've put in brackets on your sheet 400 grams. It doesn't have to be exactly 400 grams, but around that amount. So if you're making your own chickpeas, if you're not getting a tin one, then you know roughly what to use. Oops, is that on? Chickpeas are wonderful in hummus and all different stews and patties, a whole lot of different things. The eggplant's getting a little bit like a brownier colour when it cooks. It looks a little bit not so white. And I'm going to mix everything together. I'm going to mix the chickpeas, what's cooking in the eggplant and the shallots and everything, including the nuts. Could I have a clean bowl, please? Because I've put some things in here that I shouldn't have. I'm also, because those that are gluten-free, you can actually make these patties with rice flour. So today I'm doing it with rice flour. You don't have to use. You can use flour of. You can buckwheat flour or any flour. But if you have a Vitamix, you can make your own flour. You can have whole grain flours, or you can do buckwheat. You can do rice. Has anyone ever done that? Does anyone have a Vitamix and make your own flour? No? It's really nice. It's really nice to have really freshly ground flour. It's beautiful. So you can make your own. My daughter just got a pasta machine, so she's been experimenting with different pastas, and she's made all sorts of flours to make her own pasta, and she's made rice flour and buckwheat and different wheats, and it's worked really well. See how it's gone a bit more not so white anymore? Now that's probably about the way we want it. Soup must be nearly ready. Okay, so I'm not going to put that first in here because I might break it, but I'll start off with this. I normally have a stainless steel bowl, but because I want you to see, we've got a glass one, but I'll put all the other ingredients first before I put the hot. I'll put quinoa and the chickpeas. Now, we've made you a sample, but when you go home, don't make them small like your samples. Make them a nice. Use a ice cream scoop to scoop it, and then you make a nice round ball so that you can get some of that lovely flavour. I'm going to add some parsley, freshly chopped parsley. If you like, you can also add basil, if you like basil, or coriander, if you like. But I just added parsley and the walnuts. And now I can put this on in there. Now I'm going to use this special ingredient. That's the brine from the chickpeas, and it's called aquafaba. So if someone says to you, use some aquafaba, that's what they are talking about. It's the juice or the liquid from the beans. So I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons in here, but you can put more and you can put a bit less, depending on how much flour you want. But at this point of time, it's a good idea to add your salt. And I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of oregano. And I'll put about a teaspoon of salt. But that is, again, up to you how you like it. Some people like it a little bit. Oh, I might put a little bit extra. There we go. 1.5, that will be good. And you can try that now for the taste to see if that's enough salt or if you need more. And before you put in the aquafaba. And I'm just going to do 3 tablespoons. This will help it bind up. So, and I'm going to match it with 3 tablespoons of my rice flour. Mix that up first. Well, that's about 1. That's about 2. That's about 3. And if you don't think it's enough, put a little bit more. So I don't measure things normally, and it's extremely hard for me to make something when they say, how much do you put? Well, it's about that much.
I hope you don't follow your recipes when you get home.
But no, if you see, I'll show you the consistency that it should be. And then if you don't think it's that, just put a bit extra or put a bit. If you find you put too much rice flour, just put another spoon of this. Okay? So it's not going to, you're not going to get, how will I say? You're going to, it doesn't matter. You'll, if you look at that and you think, oh, that's a little bit moist, you go, okay. We'll just add a little bit more. Well, I've just about had the right amount. Look at that. So that's good. But you can have normal flour if you want. Like I said, you can have buckwheat flour, felt. No, corn flour I wouldn't, because corn flour is more for binding. Yeah, but if you want spelt or any of these other flours, you can do. Yeah. Okay, now we've got to roll this up into balls. Thank you. It's a real good idea to use some oil spray or brush a bit of olive oil on it, because, I better hurry up because the time's flying. So just give it a good spray, because it will stick. Okay, so about so. You can either plonk it straight onto there, or you just make a ball, and I think that's a lot more. Sorry? I'm sorry. There we go. I think that's a lot nicer. So just make balls as such. I won't make you stand here and wait till I make this whole bowl full, but you just, and you can see that it holds together. It's not going to take off. It's not going to drop all over your floor and stuff. So anyway, I'll continue on with this as Rosetta's going to demonstrate. Tanya's going to be the next one, yeah? But I'm going to do the soup first, because that's ready. I just wanted some. Here it is.
Oh, you're waiting for samples, aren't we? Oh, what's going on?
Oh, it'll come.
Now you see what I have to put up at home. This is the recipe. So much salt. So no, it tastes good. Now she uses me as a guinea pig.
And then Joe says, I don't feel like eating this. I said, just try it. Just try it. Okay.
I'm putting weight on, so I'll have to do Paul's exercises, I think.
I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like cooked spinach. Okay? And it smells delish. So, and you've tasted it. So, who enjoyed it? Oh, good. I'm glad some of you enjoyed it. Well, a lot of you enjoyed it. So I'll just, I need a ladle for here.
Oh, well, just a reminder while they are swapping over, here comes the samples. Don't forget we have the little shop downstairs, and all the proceeds from the shop goes for the youth. We have a youth camp, and all the profits from the little shop downstairs goes towards that. So if you'd like to wander through it after you finish, you're very welcome. Now also, how many people were here on the hands-on raw? I see some familiar faces here. Now, we had a banquet after they finished, because we had, how many stations did we have? 6. 6 stations, and different ladies demonstrated different things. Everything was raw. You had raw pasta, raw sauces, and it was wonderful. And I tell you, you're not going to put any weight on. I guarantee it, Paul. So I suggest for the next 8 weeks, you go on raw. Can you manage that? If it wasn't for the shop downstairs, eh? I'll let you in a little secret. You see, Paul was staying with me last few days, and we have a scale in our bathroom. And he was very disappointed because he said, "Is your scale okay?" So you know what that means. He either ate too much or my scale was wrong. I hope you enjoy your samples.
I'm just going to switch that blender on and make a little noise. Sorry about that. You can see the steam coming out of the holes. So don't try doing this if you've got a normal blender. Leave that opened when you do it at home if you don't have a Vitamix. Okay, because it needs to have that steam. Well, it depends how much the family eats. That is almost, I think that's about 2 litres. Where's the 2 litre mark? 3. What's that say? Oh.
That's
Five
about
cups?
about 1.8.
That says, 5 cups.
5 cups.
Or this litres there. So you got 1,500, 1.5 litres.
1.5 litres. So, yeah. So that's really.
Yeah, the idea is to try these things at home, and see if they work.
Tanya, I'll leave that here like this. There you go. I don't think we need the Vitamix. Do we need the Vitamix later? You'll need it? Okay. No? Okay. Good. Well, Tanya's going to go through with the tomato sauce. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya. How are you enjoying it? Doesn't taste like meat, no? I can't tell. I'm the 2nd generation of vegetarian, so I have no idea what meat tastes like. So I trust you enjoy it, but it's healthy, I guarantee you that much. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. It's good to see a full house. Everyone enjoying what you're having and what you've had so far? Lettuce soup? Yeah? Well, my ingredients are pretty simple and straightforward. It's a very traditional and just simple tomato sauce. And obviously you're now consuming it at the moment. So just something that's easy and goes well with meatballs, as a lot of us know. So my ingredients, we don't find them at Victoria's Secret. as saucy as those meatballs may be, this tomato sauce is actually, the ingredients, you find them at your local grocer or the Coles or Woolies, yes. Yep, we'll keep that one in mind. We'll remember that, Lydia. We'll remember that. So first off, I've got one large onion, and I'm going to, well, it'll be good if I put oil in. So I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm just going to put that into my saucepan. And then I've got 1 large onion, which I'll add to that. And 4 cloves of garlic, and with the cloves of garlic just finely diced or chopped up. So very straightforward. What we're wanting here is just to get them to that see-through, translucent look. And while it's doing its work here, who loves tomatoes? Who loves peeling tomatoes? That's something else, isn't it? Okay, so what I've done here, actually, I prepared this a little bit earlier. You've got there that there's 1 kilo of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. So what I've done is, with the 1 kilo of fresh tomatoes, I've put them into boiling water. And with the boiling water, you just let it sit there for a bit, and they will then, the skin comes off very easily. So then I've put them into a food processor, if you like, and you want to chop them up finely, then you'll get something that looks like that. So that's fresh tomatoes there. You also have the options of using diced canned tomatoes. So what we're doing tonight is we're mixing both. So your choice, what you want to do. If you want to just use the tin tomatoes, that's fine. If you want to just use fresh tomatoes, that's fine. If you want to combine the two, that's totally up to you. So I'm just going to get these onion and garlic going. And as you can see in the ingredients there, it's very straightforward, nothing difficult about it. And obviously, as fresh as you can get, fresh produce, so whatever fresh ingredients you can get and add to your cooking is always best. So once these onions have come along, they're taking a little bit of time. I'm not sure if it is. It feels like it's on. Okay, so once that's done, you then add your fresh tomatoes. And if you're mixing the both, then you just add the canned as well. Dice those up, or you just put it into your food processor and just give it a whiz. If you can get it at a Victoria's Secret store, I'll be surprised, you know. Lucky you. Yeah. Okay, so once the tomatoes are in there, we're just bringing it up to a simmer. And once we're doing that, I've got here just a teaspoon of Italian herbs, which I'll add to that. I also have with me here some maple syrup, and as you got there on your sheets, it's got 2 teaspoons, so that's 2 teaspoons there.
Because if you use the fresh tomatoes, I can see some puzzled questions there. It becomes a little bit sour. So to take that sourness, acidity out, you put a little bit of maple syrup in it.
Yeah, so it's balancing out the sweetness, and if the tomatoes are not as sweet, then maple syrup will bring it up to that and give you that sweetness that you need in the sauce. I've got here the Marcel chicken powder, stock powder. So with this, I just want 1 tablespoon. Yes, most certainly is. Yes, chicken style. No animal products in that at all. Okay, so once all those ingredients have been mixed well, it's just a matter of letting it sit and simmer for at least half an hour. So as it simmers along, you will see it reduce slowly, and it will thicken up, and it will turn out into the sauce that you've tried. So with that, you can add, if it's to your taste, add salt if it needs a little bit more salt. And at the end, as it simmers, right at the end, we have just a sprig of basil, fresh basil. You just add that in at the end as it's simmering, and just leave it there. It's more just for the flavour. So once it's all done and you've cooked that through, then you can then remove the basil, the sprig of basil in there, and it's ready to serve. So, any questions? It's a very straightforward recipe, nothing complicated. Yes? Oh, good question. Well, I think, anything, maybe up to a week. If it's in a good sealed jar. But I guess it's just like anything that you'll have.
You can freeze it. Look, don't hesitate to freeze it. If you can't use it all, put it in a freezer. It lasts, not a problem.
Works really well. And you just have it with whatever. It doesn't have to be just pasta and meatballs. It can be with whatever veggies you're having for dinner or whatever. That it goes very well.
Thank you, Theo.
I think the younger it is, the younger the eggplant, the less chance that it's bitter. I think the older it is, the more chance that it's bitter. But I think also a lot probably depends on how it was grown, how much water it had, that sort of thing. The more water it had, the less bitter it'll probably be. So.
Salt.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. Is it dessert time? Is it, Ro?
Yes.
Wow. We always look forward to the dessert time. Is it vegan? Sorry? You call it something like duck sausages or something? No. No. Oh, that's good. I'm glad.
Yay.
Okay. Cardamom wheat.
Yeah. Okay. Should we turn it off? Cardamom wheat. Is that on? Can you hear me? Is it on? Yeah? Okay. All right. This recipe is something that I grew up on. Okay? We used to live in Melbourne as kids, and my mum used to make this for our breakfast. But we used to travel to Sydney to see our relatives, right? And what she would do, she would make the wheat. She would put it in she'd bring it to the boil in a pot, and then she would put it in a thermos flask and leave it overnight. We would leave, 4 o'clock in the morning to get here by lunchtime or whatever it was back then. And 7 o'clock in the morning, it would be ready for breakfast. Okay, so we would have this. It's just in the thermos overnight, and in the morning, it's nice and plumped up and ready to eat. And she would just sprinkled some walnuts and sugar, and that was our breakfast. So delicious. This is a different take on it. Same thing, but we're making it with cardamom today. Cardamom is an awesome spice. It's really good for blood pressure. It helps lower your blood pressure. It's good for thinning your blood so you don't get blood clots. You probably don't want to take it if you're on anticoagulants or something. It's a good antioxidant as well. And it's an anti-inflammatory as well. Cardamom is a spice that's probably third dearest on the list. You've got vanilla and saffron. Cardamon's the next one down in how expensive it is. But you don't need a lot of it, but it has that beautiful, sweet aroma to it that just adds flavour, okay? So today that's what we're doing to our wheat. So what I have done, if you don't want to do it overnight in a thermos, you can do it in a heavy saucepan. Bring it to the boil. Let it boil for about 5 minutes. Turn it down halfway. Boil for let it simmer for about 10 minutes or so. Then turn it all the way down, as far down as your hot plate will allow, okay? Leave the lid on. Don't take the lid off the whole time. Leave the lid on and simmer it like that on really, really low for about 2 hours. The thing about wheat, it needs to cook properly, okay? If it doesn't, it'll be chewy and hard and not cooked through, okay? And then you leave it to cool. You leave it in the cooking water that it was cooked in, and you leave it to cool. When it's cool, then you can make this, okay? So you can do that as well overnight, okay? You bring it to the boil, do all that, and then just leave it overnight to cool. In the morning, it is yum for breakfast. You can have it as a dessert, yes? You probably could do it on a slow cooker. I don't have one, but you probably could. It would work just as well, yeah. On the lowest setting, obviously, yeah. I don't know, maybe. But if you're soaking it for 12 hours, if you're cooking it for 2, I think you're better off cooking it for 2 than soaking it for 12. That's less time. So, I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it. Unless you want it raw, technically, I suppose. You could just soak it, yeah. Anyway. So, I'll leave this one out here. This is just the plain, what it looks like. It puffs up beautifully, the wheat. And it's really nice. If you like brown rice, you know how that's a little bit chewy and it's full of flavour because it's got all the husks and everything still on it. Wheat, the same. It's got that chewy sort of consistency. So where do you get wheat grain? Wheat grain, you can buy it at a supermarket. We sell it downstairs in our little shop downstairs. The supermarkets sell whole wheat, just whole wheat. Okay, so the ingredients are very simple, very easy, quick, and I need a spoon. Maybe a spatula. Okay. Grind up some walnuts. Walnuts go really good with this. And just ground up walnuts. You need one of those mills. You can't do walnuts in a food processor because it gets gluggy and oily and doesn't work. You need to actually grind it in a meat grinder. What do they call those things that you sort of have a... No, not even a coffee grinder. A mill thing, yeah. Yeah. In my bag, yeah, go get it. We'll show you what I did it on. Okay, so we add the walnuts. And another ingredient that makes it really brings out the flavour is lemon rind. So the rind of one whole lemon. This is the easy part. Just put everything in. To sweeten it, my mum used to put raw sugar, but we're using maple syrup today. Now, also the secret ingredient is cardamom. Cardamom, it just gives that beautiful, sweet, subtle aroma. Very good. Tastes good and it's good for you. One other thing to balance out the sweetness and the flavour is a pinch of salt. And it brings out the sweetness so that the flavour is more intense. It balances it out. So just a pinch of salt as well. And then it's just a matter of mixing it up. You can eat this straight away, or you can leave it to infuse a bit if you want to do it. Like you could do it the day before, the whole process, do it the day before. If you're going to serve it the next day, it's all nice and infused, and it's really good flavour. But you can use nutmeg, you can use cinnamon, anything like that, if you're not a fan of cardamom. Yeah, for breakfast, as Lydia said, you can put sultanas or dates or something like that in it as well to add to it. Very... coconut cream, that's a good one. Yeah, so there's a lot of variations that you can make on it. And it's wheat, whole grain wheat, so you're getting the full benefit of the grain. You can use brown rice, but you have to cook it again separately first, and then put it all. The rice might go a bit gluggy. I'm not sure about brown rice, how that works in a thermos, whether that'll... Give it a go. Let us know next week. Yeah. I've got to bring out the sample one. Where is it? On the table outside. Yeah. And you can put it in a mould. You can put it in a mould and mould it and then tip it out so that it comes.
Just while you're enjoying that, you see that young gentleman over there, his name is Joe on the camera. Now, you might wonder, what is he doing there? Well, we are live streaming actually all these, okay? So in case you want to see others that you missed, just log on onto either Scofield Church, Joe is it, or Elim Health, and you will find it there, all the previous demonstrations. So thank you, Joe, for being here. He's stopped his work early just to be here, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
That's it.
Done.
Done.
That's it.
Oh.
There you go. This is what you grind your nuts with. Walnuts.
You put that in there. Close that, put your nuts in there, close it, and...
Very simple.
Like a cheese grater, I suppose, yeah.
Questions? Now, you can still come after the meeting and talk to the ladies if you'd like, but we'd like to thank them all. And also the ones that are behind the scenery, there is quite a few of them. So thank you very much. Now they're going to come out, and of course we thank you for coming, especially those that are here for the first time. And make it a habit, come again. Now, just to repeat a few things. Here they are. Okay, Tanya, Lana, Daniela, Vivian, and we have a visitor from Tahiti, believe it or not. So welcome, and look at this young... Sorry? Okay.
Move up.
Our future cooks, that's it. Thank you. Now, I do want to remind you that, yes, we are a church, okay? So every Saturday, lunchtime, we have what's called a potluck. Now, our potlucks are vegan potlucks for public, for anybody that comes. So if you're in the area passing by after 12 o'clock, come and enjoy a meal with us, okay? We're not going to to bind you up and keep you here. And so come and enjoy and experiment with different vegetarian and vegan meals that are made. It's quite a variety that we have here. So have a look at the shop downstairs if you'd like. Literature here. Don't forget the blue box over here which says donations on it. We appreciate it very much. And if you are planning to come next week and you have not registered, this is your chance also to tell the girls to register. Now, just before we leave, I'd like to again ask you to just bow your heads, and we'd like to ask blessing upon all of you here tonight. Father in heaven, we are so thankful that we have this time together in using some of the wonderful things that you have created for us. We know that health is very important, and you do want us to be healthy. So bless us that we may understand how to live lives which will give us health and a long life here, and that we may help others also. Keep them safe as we travel home, and keep us until we see each other again. We thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen. So be free to mingle and talk and ask questions and have a look at the products here. Thank you, and God bless.